The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/theformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 163 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, beating demons to death, and all that other crazy heavy metal-inducing stuff. I'm your host, Logan.
And hey guys, I'm PastorDoostyn, back on another episode. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. We got PastorDoostyn on to talk about Doom because, well, he's the Doom guy. I've literally played like 2 Doom games, and I think he's played more than I have. So we brought on the expert to discuss Doom and to have some fun with it here and to rock and roll with it. But in case our dear listeners, for some reason, I don't know, like you guys should know who PastorDoostyn is. We had an entire episode with him on a couple months ago. But PastorDoostyn, man, tell the dear listeners kind of who you are, what you're about, where people can find you, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. My name is PastorDoostyn. I'm a real pastor who plays Pokemon, Doom, and everything in between, all with the intention of sharing God's love with the gaming world because I believe God loves gamers, and so do I. That's the way I start every stream. I stream on Twitch. You can find me there at twitch.tv/PastorDoostyn. And like I said, I play Pokemon, Doom, and everything in between, a little bit of everything. But Doom has kind of become one of the staple games for me. We'll talk about it a lot today, but yeah, there's a whole community there that I've gotten to meet through streaming, through playing games like Doom, and being able to share the gospel with people all over the world by chainsawing demons in half. It's pretty incredible. 2020 is what a time to be alive.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Well, dear listeners, before we get into the topic and get into the rest of the show here, we're going to do just a little bit of housekeeping real quick, just to kind of let you guys know some of the new things that we've got going on here with TRG. As always, our website, thereformedgamers.com, is kind of the best place for you to get links to everything TRG related. And we have some new articles up on the website. We've got a new retrospective on Chrono Trigger. I think by the time that this episode releases, we will have an article on Metroid Prime. And I can't remember what else we've got queued up this week. But we got some cool stuff coming up. We also have a review for Concrete Genie on there, which I highly recommend you guys go and check out. That is all on our website, thereformedgamers.com. As always, too, join our Discord channel. There's a lot of fun, crazy stuff going on in there. We just got some new Discord roles. Like if you level up, like as you interact with the server, you gain XP, you level up, and then you get new roles. And so you get some pretty goofy roles like Dear Listener, Dear Tyrannosaurus, Assistant Regional Manager. I can't remember what the other ones are. But yeah, so join our Discord channel. Link will be in your show notes so you can have fun with that. As always, follow us on Twitch as well. Twitch.tv/thereformedgamers. We'll be streaming stuff over there. If you like what we do here on the show, you can go to patreon.com/thereformedgamers to lend your support to the show and get early access to all of our episodes and behind-the-scenes episodes and more. And if you can't support us financially, just head on over to your podcast app of choice, whether that's iTunes, Podchaser, whatever it is you're using, and leave a rating and review for the show so that way people can know kind of what you like about the show, maybe what you don't like about the show, and everything in between. But yeah, dear listeners, let's go ahead and get into the show. Let's kick things off with a little bit of what have you been playing. PastorDoostyn, man, what games have you been getting into recently?
So I'm still pretty much hooked to Pokemon. I know that's what I said last time. I've been playing Pokemon, but dude, I'm still nice. On it. Like I've been, team building and all that kind of stuff, and it took me forever and a day, but finally I've completed some teams, and so I've been grinding out the ranked battles on Pokemon, and Season 3 for Pokemon just started March 1st, where they released a lot of new G-Max Pokemon, the Alolan starters that you're able to use, and a few others. And so I built a team in anticipation of that, ready for season 3. So as soon as it started, I've started grinding that out and running into some rage moments, some frustration on the ranked ladder, but hey, it's okay. It's been a lot of fun. It's any time where I have to just like play off of stream, that's pretty much what I've been playing, is trying to grind out that ranked ladder.
Right on. So, because I've seen you tweet about this, I've seen you kind of build some teams. Like, is this for online play or what is this for exactly? Because I haven't gotten into it myself in Shield, so I'm kind of a novice when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah, so they have a whole online system. You have to have a Nintendo Online account, but once you have that set up and you have some teams put together, you can play against other people online with a very specific set of rules where you can actually achieve like a world ranking through this system, and it'll tell you what your ranking is once you reach the top tier, which I'm a couple behind that right now. So I'm in rank 9. You have to get above rank 10 to get your world ranking. But that it kind of shows you who's using what the meta really looks like. It's way more interactive and informative than in like previous hardware generations, like on the 3DS, where you just play other people, but there wasn't much information to go along with it. But now it's like, man, I can see kind of, how my team stands, how I stand as a player. And it's just fun to build teams, to have a plan going in, and then see what other people all over the place are using and how your team stacks up. So it's kind of like, taking the whole thing back whenever Pokemon started. I want to be the very best, the best there ever was, however the song goes. And you can like actually play other people and see if you are the best. So it's pretty fun. You can do it all from your couch,
Nice. Well, that's cool. And so it adds another layer to the game and makes it definitely more, I guess, complex for those that want it. I'm just kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. I just want to go in and catch things and change my outfits. So I guess I'm very basic in that way when it comes to Pokemon. But that's cool though. And I don't know where I was going with that. I just kind of lost it. But no, so you got your teams together. You're going to be playing stuff. I'm assuming you're going to be doing that on stream then?
Yeah, now that I've finally got it done, I've been trying to get up to what they call Master Ball rank. I've been trying to get there before I stream it, but hey, I may just start and do the road to Master Ball and stream that.
Right on.
But yeah, I'll definitely be playing those ranked battles on stream.
Right on. Well, I am looking forward to that and figuring out what in the world all this is all about and how it works. Well, as far as what I've been playing, then I've been getting into Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of I don't even know what the whole title is. It's just Dragon Quest. It's just Dragon Quest XI. Been playing that on the Nintendo Switch. Really enjoying it. I'm about 36 hours into the game, and there's a particular twist that people were warning me about, and man, it did not disappoint. It comes out of left field, it hits hard, and it's pretty wild. There's a lot of like, oh crap moments, like what is going on now? Like where do you even go with the game at this point? So it's pretty cool. Still enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. Like, I mean, I recoed it in the last episode and I'll reco it again. I think it's a cool game. It's one of the best JRPGs that I've played so far, at least 36 hours in, I can say that. But it's a lot of fun. Like playing it on the go. And then another game I'll talk about real quick, because I booted this up here pretty recently, is a game called Bloodroots, which is a game we actually got a review code for. That is, I mean, how do you describe this game? It's like hyper violent woodsman simulator kind of thing.
I like it already.
Basically the premise of the game is you play as this woodsman who is betrayed by his posse and killed, but somehow he comes back to life, and so he's on a quest for revenge. He's trying to figure out why he was betrayed, and you basically play through the game. You go through these different levels. It's a lot like Hotline Miami, if any of you dear listeners have played that, where you start up on a mission, you go through, you clear an area out of enemies, you have these very flashy takedowns and kills and stuff like that. And the art style is very, it's like early 2000s Cartoon Network, like Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack kind of style. So it looks really cool. And the gameplay is just fast. It's frenetic. It's crazy. It's a lot of fun. I've actually really enjoyed the first couple hours I've put into it, and it's interesting. You guys keep it locked to the website, and we'll be putting different reviews, impressions, and we'll probably stream it a couple times too on Twitch, so you guys can take a look at it. But I'm having a blast with it. Really cool game. Was not expecting much of it, but their big thing, and you see this on all the marketing, because like you basically pick up all the things in the area to use as a weapon, and so you can pick up a thing like a carrot and use that as a weapon. You can. It's so goofy when you say it out loud, but you can like take it. You can take a cooked turkey and use it as a weapon. Like you'll take the cooked turkey and shove it on someone's head, and then they just like disappear in a puff of smoke for some reason. So it's a completely bonkers game, but it's a lot of fun. It's on the Switch, PC, PS4, Xbox. So if any of you dear listeners are playing it, let me know. Share your thoughts with us, and yeah. So, PastorDoostyn, man, we're gonna have to get you a copy of that game, because that
sounds right up my alley. Weird and violent. I like it.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. That's gonna be a clip for a promo of this episode. Is that right there? Oh man, but that's what we've been playing. Let's switch gears and go over to what have we been reading. PastorDoostyn, man, what have you been reading lately?
Yeah, so a couple things that I've been reading. First, a book by Chuck E. Tate called 41 Will Come. A great book, goes through a lot of the different biblical examples of time spans around the number 40. Jesus fasting for 40 days in the wilderness, okay. The Israelites lost for 40 years, all that kind of stuff, different times of 40 where there was a great dependency on God. God, are you going to come through? We can't see the end of this thing, sort of thing. And but the encouragement of the book is that 41 will come. That 41st day, that 41st month, that 41st year, 41 will come. There is this season is not forever. So a lot of times we find ourselves in a rut, in a season of, man, I don't know, I can't see the end. And it's just a very encouraging book, especially if you ever find yourself in one of those seasons, or if you're in one of those seasons right now. Just to know that 41 will come. But he kind of breaks each of those situations down, and there's multiple examples in the Bible using the number 40, but he kind of goes through a lot of the main ones and really pulls some great truths out of it. And I'd recommend it. It's a great encouragement. 41 Will Come by Chuck E. Tate. Definitely check that out. That's something I've read recently. Cool. Another thing is, this was actually just last night in a Bible study. We've been working through the book of John just slowly. We're in like week 20 or something. I don't even know. It's been forever. But we were in John 15 last night and just kind of talking through it, breaking it down. And man, I love like John 14 through 17-ish, somewhere around there, is like this long conversation, real deep, intimate time between Jesus and the disciples right after he washes their feet and all this kind of stuff. And John 15, we really just kind of broke it down and looked at the example that Jesus gives his disciples, where he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. And apart from me, you can do nothing. And man, we were just talking about how incredible that is, that, and he even says in this passage that if you abide in me, you will bear much fruit. It's not something that we have to try or work to do. It's just a natural result based on the virtue of our connection to Christ, him being the vine. We're just a branch, an offshoot of that. As long as we remain in him, abide in him, we will produce fruit. And so it's just, that was a great read and a great discussion that we had on that.
Wow. Yep. That's the episode. We're done. We don't need to keep going. That was good. We're done. Man, it's, I brought this, I was thinking about this earlier in the week about how, like, we think about things like John 3:16, like we know it so much, but we kind of forget how awesome that verse is. And it's just like that verse there, you know, it's like one that we all know, but like, what a good reminder that is, you know, like it's so good. So good, man. I don't even need to read mine. You done took us to church.
No, come on, hit us with it. What you got?
So as far as like what I've been reading, I've made a more intentional effort to try to read through books of the Bible throughout the year. And really part of this is because of what you're doing on your stream, Doostyn. And so I sat down and like the typical youth pastor I am, I started in 2 Thessalonians instead of 1 Thessalonians because I do what I want. And so I read through that, but like there was this one particular verse in chapter 3. And it's where it's kind of like the final address. They're closing out the letter. Paul's kind of wrapping things up. But he says, finally, brothers, pray for us that the word of the Lord may speed ahead and be honored as happened among you, and that we may be delivered from wicked and evil men. For not all have faith, but the Lord is faithful. He will establish you and guard you against the evil one. And we have confidence in the Lord about you, that you are doing and will do the things that we command. May the Lord direct your hearts to the love of God and to the steadfastness of Christ. And normally when we get to the end of letters, we kind of zone out a little bit because we're like, we get it, Paul's wrapping things up, blah, 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 you know. But this particular thing here, there's two things I noticed. One, I was just reminded of how much Paul really loves the churches that he helped start and just the people of God, and which is really cool to see. And I hope I emulate that with my students. But that one particular phrase, or that one verse in verse 3 about the Lord is faithful, he's trustworthy, he will establish you or strengthen you and guard you against the evil one. And it was just, it's a good reminder, and it kind of fits in with the theme of Doom a little bit about how God protects us from the evil one. But it just goes along with this theme because I've been trying to instill in my students to evangelize more, to tell people about Jesus, to share their testimony, to get out there and to not really worry about messing up, because I have this goofy saying now that they all hate, but I say it anyway because I know they'll remember it. But I remind them, you know, if you mess up, God will still bless up, which I know it's corny, but I say it because they're going to remember it, and that's more what I'm going for. And it just, it's such a good reminder. And I keep trying to tell them, like even if you mess up, or if you're afraid, like just don't worry about any of that. God's got you. You're okay. Don't worry. You're better to be in a little bit of danger in the will of God than outside the will of God and be comfortable, as I've heard many pastors say before. So just reading that was just like, man, this is such a good reminder, and just kind of resting in that. And yeah, that's basically what I've been reading. So let's thank you, man. Let's switch gears here. Real quick reminder, dear listeners, if you haven't left a rating and review of the show on iTunes or wherever it is you're listening to the show, go ahead and do that real quick, and then come back and we'll start off the show with some Doom here, which this one, I'm going to be honest, I was a little hesitant to do an episode on this just because I know, like we've talked about this several times on the show here now, the whole satanic panic in the 90s where Christians and pastors and stuff were very anti Dungeons and Dragons. They were very anti Pokemon later in life, or later in the years. And they were especially anti Doom. And I remember growing up in that time period where people, like churches, were like, oh, you know, if your kids are playing Doom, then they're messing with Satan and they're conjuring demons and all that stuff. And I'm like, Can you really do that from a video game? Because like, not that I'm gonna do it, but like, is that a thing? Like, so I know that there's still some folks out there that are hesitant about that. But I also thought, we're the Reformed Gamers. Part of what we do on the show is try to engage video games from a Christian perspective, and that's what we're going to do today with Doom. You know, we're going to talk about, it's a pretty big series. It's a very influential series. Doom Eternal comes out later this month. Very highly anticipated release. And we've got the PastorDoostyn on. Wait a minute. Hold up. Okay. I think I just figured something out. Is your Doostyn in your name, is that a play on Doom?
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner, folks. Yeah, it kind of is.
Dude, I am so slow.
No, no. Well, it kind of unintentionally is, honestly, because it just came about because I was playing with different spellings of my name, trying to find a social media handle that was available across all accounts. But it kind of worked out because Doom is like my staple game on stream, and I love it. It's in my top 5 favorite games ever. Wow. So it kind of just kind of worked out that, hey, Doostyn, spelled like Doom. It's just kind of a play. Some people will hop in my stream and they'll just call me Doomston or Pastor Doomston. And it's just kind of become a thing. So
that's awesome. So in a way, you're the Doom guy. Huh? Huh?
Dude, I wish.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would be awesome, especially having that Praetor suit. So let's talk about Doom real quick. We won't really get into the whole satanic panic stuff because we've kind of gone over that several times on the show already. We don't really need to kind of beat that topic down unless it comes up naturally in the conversation. But since we're kind of reviewing the whole series, I want to remind dear listeners that we are covering the whole series. We're covering a wide range of games here. But at any point in the future, we'll probably, if we want, do an individual episode on Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. It just depends on what we play and timing and all that. But let's talk about kind of our experience with the series, the games that we've played, maybe what we like about it, what kind of makes us apprehensive about it or anything like that. So we won't be able to cover Doom Eternal because this is coming out before Eternal releases. But we can cover the other games that we played. So Pastor Doostyn, what about you, man? What's your experience been like with Doom? When did you first get into the series? What are some things you like about it? Kind of go over some of those things for the listeners.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, whenever we were talking about doing an episode on Doom, I was like, oh, dude, just put a microphone in front of me. I'll talk forever about Doom. So I'll try to keep my own brain focused and on track because I could just talk. But the way that I was first introduced to Doom, Doom came out in 1993. It came out whenever I was 6 years old. And didn't have a computer at the time that was capable of running Doom, nor did I even know it existed when I was 6 years old. But my neighbor, 2 doors down, had Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, and Quake. Oh, yeah. Had all 3 of those games. Specifically to Doom, he just had the freeware version of it, which basically means in Doom, there's in the original form of Doom, there are 3 episodes, each of 8 levels or so. And the freeware version was it was just the first episode. So the first 8 levels you could play for free, and that they would just distribute copies of Doom. And that's the way that they marketed the game, and how it got out there so much is they gave away the first episode of Doom and then encouraged you to purchase the full game. So they got you hooked basically. And then, hey, you want to see what happens next? You got to buy the game. So he had freeware Doom. And so I would go over to his house and play Doom all the stinking time. And I loved it. It was awesome. It was so fun. Cause I mean, you think about 1993, what did we have? We had the Super Nintendo, we had Sega Genesis out there, and, awesome consoles, incredible compared to like the Nintendo and whatever. But man, Doom blew them both out of the water. Like, this looks like a full 3D world, these way more advanced graphics. So it was just, if you looked at it, it would catch your eye, It wasn't like anything. So it really hooked me. I started playing it and enjoyed the kind of the frantic gameplay because it's such a run and gun action based kind of game. Also, I don't know what it is. Well, actually, I think I might have an idea of what it is, but I was even drawn to the subject material in a way. Like I didn't fully comprehend that you eventually go to hell and slaughter demons in the game. Because in episode 1, you don't. You're just on a moon base. But there's been a portal that's opened to hell, and demons are coming through, and they're on the moon base. And so you're just going around this scientific looking area killing stuff. And but things like that, like scary things, always kind of grabbed my attention as a kid. And I think it's because my sister's birthday is on Halloween. That's why she's so evil. Okay. My evil sister. And, yeah, it's a whole other story. She's tried to kill me several times, but yeah, no, I survived. Anyway, but so as in our family, we always made Halloween a big deal because we were just celebrating my sister's birthday. So we would have everyone over and we did the whole Halloween thing, So as a kid, I never even heard about the whole, Christians shouldn't celebrate Halloween kind of controversy thing.
Right.
I was just like, dude, it's a time to, dress up like a skeleton, eat candy, and, go knock on doors and get free stuff or whatever.
Right.
So I was just, I kind of enjoyed that subject material, I guess, which is maybe why Castlevania is also one of my favorite games ever. I liked the subject material.
That's good.
But so that kind of drew me to it. But apart from that, it going along with my experience in Doom, I actually didn't play the full game of Doom 1 until I was an adult. I played through the freeware version many times, as a kid, but I never owned a copy of Doom ever until I was an adult. And it was on the Xbox 360. They had a great port of Doom and Doom 2. And that was where I first really experienced the full Doom experience. And it was already a game that I really enjoyed. But once I played through the entirety of Doom 1 and Doom 2, dude, it became, like I said, in my top 5 favorite games. And that's, it's not just a game based on nostalgia. It's a game that's still just as fun today as it was then. And which I think we see with the release of Doom 2016. There was kind of that return to form of, run and gun, action-based shooter. You're not sitting and reloading and all this kind of stuff and hiding behind, waist-high walls. You're just, hey, run and grab a gun, run around, something's moving, kill it, So it's almost like an arcade game. But yeah, so, but before I keep going, cause I could keep going, and kind of talk through my experiences with each game. Let me hear some of your experiences before I keep going, cause I'll just keep going.
Yeah. So this is going to be super brief because the first time I played a Doom game was actually late last year. I had always known about Doom growing up, because of my, you mentioned Duke Nukem, and man, that took me back to junior high when I was playing. I probably shouldn't admit this on the show, but I was playing Duke Nukem in junior high with some friends, and and he had Doom on there too with Final Fantasy VII and all that. But I never, I'm gonna be honest, growing up, the whole concept of demons and stuff really scared me. This was pre-Jesus, but then. So I knew about it growing up and I knew about that stuff, but I was I don't really want to play that. That kind of freaks me out. But then after I became a Christian, I got into the whole, because that's when I found things like Demon Hunter. I love that their logo is a demon skull with a bullet hole through it. It's just so cool. I got into Darksiders. I got into that kind of stuff, but I never got around to Doom. I always knew about Doom. And I saw the movie with The Rock in it. I'm like, oh, this ain't bad. Maybe I'll play the game, but then I never played it because I never really had anything to play it on. So when they re-released Doom 1 through 3 for Switch, PS4, Xbox, all that stuff last year, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and try out the first Doom because I never actually played it. And I'll add this little addendum. I did try to play Doom 2016 several times, but I couldn't handle it because the fast frame rate and stuff made me nauseous. So I never really got past the part. I put on the Praetor suit, moved around a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm sick. I'm going to go play something else.
Wow. Yeah.
But so I played the first Doom and I'm like, hot dog, this game still kind of holds up in a way. It's kind of frustrating that I can't move I can't aim up and down or anything, but man, this is fast paced. This is really actiony. This is I was surprised at how well it still held up, and it was fun to play it on the Switch too, to just run and gun on the go. And so after I played the original Doom, I was like, all right, you know what? This was pretty fast paced enough. I'm going to try and play Doom 2016 again. And I did, played it through, beat it. I'm like, dude, this game is freaking awesome. It's one of those things where Doom 2016 is the quintessential power fantasy of a dude just unleashing you, just letting you go after demons and killing them and stuff, which is a totally Christian concept. Like, yeah, that's totally awesome. Taking a chainsaw to demons. Let's go. But like, man, everything from like the music in that game to the action, like it's just, so Doom is cool. Like I'm kind of looking forward to Doom Eternal, but I'll admit this, there is a little bit of an apprehension because, you know, I still have ties to that whole time in the 90s when everybody was freaking out about Dungeons and Dragons and Doom and all this other stuff, that like there's a weird part of my brain that thinks like me playing Doom is going to conjure demons like in my town or something. And I'm like, I know that makes no sense. But like there is that little part of me, but at the same time I'm like, chainsaws are fun in this game, you know? So,
yeah.
It's just, so that's where I'm at. Like, so my first real experience into the series, and it's funny you mentioned Castlevania because last year also was my first real foray into Castlevania, at least classic Castlevania. That was last year. So
wow.
Yeah. The only one I had played until last year was the first Lords of Shadow game. I never played Super Castlevania. I never played Symphony of the Night until last year. And so, yeah. So maybe we'll have to do an episode on that next. But but yeah, so that's kind of my experience with it. Like it's still relatively new to me. I like the idea of running around with a shotgun and killing demons. It's cool, using a chainsaw and all that. And I'm going to be honest, the soundtrack to Doom 2016 is probably one of the most metal things I've ever listened to in my life.
Oh, dude, it's killer. No pun intended.
Like,
it's just awesome.
I can't remember which song. I can't remember if it's like Rip and Tear or Doomslayer. Like there's like one where like it just keeps pounding you with these awesome riffs, and it's like I want, like, it makes you want to go work out or like go chop logs or just do manly things is what it makes me want to do.
Yeah, it really does. And dude, it's whenever I played 2016, it was kind of the same experience where because I had already, you know, fell in love with old school Doom, and then to play something that looked and felt and played so modern in so many ways, but still kind of retained that structure of just find guns. If it moves, kill it. If you stop moving, you're dead, you know, kind of thing. Man, it was such a fun experience. And I love 2016 Doom. It's such a fun game.
It really is.
Yeah. Even so, like, I don't know. I think old school Doom will always have my heart. But we'll see if Eternal changes that. I'm super pumped for Eternal. Dude, I've pre-ordered it, so I'm looking forward to that. That's a day one. Start playing that baby. But man, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to, since we're doing a overview of all the entire series, could we just kind of walk through each of the games and kind of talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to let you do that because literally the only games I've played is the first Doom and Doom 2016, and I'm pretty sure that's that's it. I've only played 2 games. That's why I brought you on, because you played it way more than I have, so you're definitely more knowledgeable. So
okay, cool. Well, yeah, rip and tear, let's go.
Heavy metal intensifies.
Start playing those riffs. And dude, I can't remember the name of the track that you're talking about, but I know the exact one, because as soon as you get in one of those, you know, those big, just crazy moments, that music starts playing and there's just stuff happening. It's awesome.
Just so good.
But yeah, so we kind of already talked about Doom 1, but you know, even so today, it's still such a technical game. Where there's so much strategy involved. If you're playing, you know, vanilla Doom, if you're not playing with any add-ons or mods or whatever, you just have your standard vanilla OG Doom weapons and monsters. There's like so much in the way that the weapons work. There's so much strategy in, like, you know, should I use the plasma gun, or the plasma rifle, the chain gun, or is this, you know, a super shotgun kind of moment or whatever, because different weapons have different effects on different monsters. It's not just a matter of how many bullets one shoots and how much damage it does. Like there's stun locking, there's I can't even think of the word, but there's just a lot of things in that. But it introduced so many different things with the different monster types, the different weapons, which have become iconic. Now there's so many, memes and whatever nowadays based off Doom. It became really like the most influential first-person shooter of all time, and it's from 1993. It's like the great granddaddy of all of them. Even though Wolfenstein 3D is kind of the daddy of Doom, but Doom was the one that really made it kind of mainstream and got it in everyone's hands. And now, look around, we're all playing first-person shooter games. So yeah, Doom 1. Dude, incredible. One of my favorite moments in Doom 1. No. Well, I don't know. Top 2 favorite moments are the ending of episode 1, where it's mission 8, and you start the thing with this super creepy music, and you just see like this circle of pinky demons down there, and you just shoot them with rockets or something. They can't do anything to you, and there's just this long hallway that once you get to it, you go up an elevator, and there's 2 doors. And as soon as you kind of step forward, these 2 barons of hell, huge, giant pink monsters show up that you haven't seen before, that take way more damage and do way more damage than anything you've seen. And they walk through these doors, and you're like, what the heck? And so you're running around just trying to survive. These things are shooting fireballs at you and stuff. It's playing this creepy music. And finally you beat them. You walk through a teleporter, and you don't know what happens. I still, to this day, I don't know what happens. I can't figure it out. You're teleported to like a dark room with a bunch of monsters, and you die within a second. I've tried you can't activate God mode or anything to survive it. Just you die. Oh, wow. It's a weird thing. So it kind of scares you, like, oh, what just happened? Did I go to hell? What happened? And imagine that's the end of freeware Doom. So that's the way people would end the game. Like, what happened? I want to play more. I want to know what happens next, So really crazy, creepy moment. But then probably my favorite from Doom 1 is the end of episode 2, where you go up against the cyber demon. And again, starts playing this super creepy music. You're at this place called the Tower of Babel. There's a lot of biblical themes in Doom, which is why it's funny that we all call it like the most Christian game ever. I title every Doom stream, I title Pastor Killing Demons.
Which is like one of the best titles of a stream I've ever seen in my life. Oh,
I know. So. It's awesome. And it brings all sorts of people in, which is, what I'm trying to do, reach gamers where they are. And but yeah, you go to this place, Tower of Babel, and the name of the song is They Didn't Tell Me About id, a play on id Software who made the game, but also they didn't. It's kind of saying they didn't tell me about it. Like they didn't tell you or show you any pictures about this monster that you're about to walk out. That's like 5 times taller than you and shooting rockets constantly. You're like, what the heck is this? And I've shot it with 50 rockets and it's still alive. So it's just one of these like panic moments, which I kind of knew that the cyber demon was a thing, but it was even in whatever year I played it in 13 something. It was still a fresh experience for me because I saw it and I was like, what the heck is that? Yeah. And I can't imagine playing that as like an 8-year-old or something and seeing that. Oh man, I would have freaked out. But such an iconic, memorable moment. And then when they released episode 4 for Doom, very challenging, but very fun levels in that too. One of my favorite things to do with Doom, I always play Doom on the PC with different source ports, which give you a lot of abilities to add mods and different stuff. And like you mentioned, playing it on the Switch, where you're kind of locked to that horizontal axis, you can't look up and down. Mm-hmm. Which is, the way the game was intended to be played. But nowadays in modern source ports, that's all gone. You have your little cursor, you can point and shoot just like any first person shooter. And so that's the way I play. Okay. Yeah, which is also a very interesting thing in the way that they designed it, because remember the technology and everything was not very powerful at the time. Right. And they had to make it, function on that. And so the game, even though it looks, 3D and very technical and everything, it's technically a 2D game. It's completely flat. which is such a weird thing because you see different levels and stairs and you see things up on columns above you or whatever shooting down at you. But it's such a weird concept, but it's the way that they designed it. It's technically completely flat, which is why you'll never have like a two-story level, like where you could be upstairs or downstairs above each other, because it's all flat. You'll have stairs and stuff that'll go over like around, but they'll never overlap. Which is really interesting. But like if you see, and I showed this on stream the other night whenever we were talking about this, but for example, if you see an imp up on the wall and you aim just straight in front of you, like below the imp, 20 feet below the imp, and you shoot the wall, the imp will die because you're shooting him. Even it's such a weird thing. But anyway, I don't even know how we got on that. But just very technically amazing game for the time and still fun today. But then Doom 2 came out, I think the next year, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I think
I went ahead and looked up like a release thing, and I was kind of surprised to see that it came out a year later. I'm like, man, that was really fast. And I was like, wait, this was a different time where games are not as complex as they are now.
Right.
So I was like, of course they could probably do that. But anyway.
Yeah. And Doom 2 really, like whenever I say that Doom is in my top 5 favorite games, I mean Doom 1 and 2, because they're almost like they're the same. It's the same engine. Everything is the same. It's basically in a level pack. It's got 32 new levels. It's got a bunch of new monsters, and it's got a new weapon, the super shotgun, the double-barreled shotgun that's become so iconic.
Okay.
That's all that Doom 2 introduced, is just one new weapon, a few new monsters, and a whole new game of levels. And Doom 2 is that's what, like, all of the WADs and everything. A WAD is, I don't know what that acronym stands for, WAD, but it's a custom game that someone has made using the Doom engine. So because Doom is so influential and old and whatever, there's thousands of WADs out there. That's what I'm playing through on stream all the time, is different WADs all the time, constantly. Because it's basically like Doom 2 is a level pack. A WAD is a level pack. So you have, and they can put monsters wherever they want. There's some that are super advanced that change like all the different textures and monsters and weapons and physics and everything. But I like to play ones that are pretty close to vanilla. That way it still feels like Doom. It's just like, well, this is Doom 3 and this one's Doom 4 and Doom 5, and it just keeps going, you know. But some of my favorite things about Doom 2 is that, like, you see monsters like the Cyber Demon and the Spider Mastermind, who were the big bad bosses in Doom 1. You know, now you see them just running around in normal levels. You know, they're just like normal monsters. And so it's way more challenging, especially because you have monsters like the Mancubus, who's shooting these very powerful fireballs very fast. The Arachnotron, who has a plasma rifle shooting at you. Pain elementals, who infinitely shoot out something called lost souls, which are those little burning skulls that are like homing missiles.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's way more difficult, but at the same time way more fun because it's such a challenge, you know. So and that's what I meant to say earlier, all of our WADs nowadays, they're all built on Doom 2, not Doom 1, because Doom 2 has those different assets, those different monsters and the super shotgun and stuff.
Gotcha. So there's more stuff to play with. Okay.
Right, exactly. Then they took a short break and eventually released Doom 3, which I have still to this day, I have never played Doom 3. It's something I would like to play eventually, but I'm not super interested in it. And that's primarily because it's just such a different game. It kind of shifts away from the what Doom is, where it's all action, it's all just chaos, you know, run and gun. If you stop, you're dead. It's not that kind of game at all. It's very dark and foreboding, and you have a flashlight and things pop out. There's like jump scares and that kind of stuff. It's still like horror themed, I guess, even though I don't know how horror themed I would say Doom 1 and 2 are. I mean, you can replace the demons with whatever. There's a WOD based on Czech cereal where you're shooting little aliens and stuff. I mean,
Oh my
dude,
gosh.
you could replace it. Yeah. Oh, and that has a huge cult following. It's called Chex Quest. I still need to play that one on stream.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you can put anything in, but in Doom 3, they have these creepy monsters and stuff, but it's kind of more based on stealth and horror and even like inventory management and stuff like that, instead of just something's moving, kill it, try to survive, one man against the forces of hell. It's just a different game. So I'm sure it's a great game. I just haven't experienced it myself.
I remember working at GameStop around that time. This was after that game had come out. I think by a couple of years. I'm looking at the timeline now. That game came out in 2004. I didn't start working at GameStop till 2006 probably. So I remember seeing it in the store, and this is like, I was looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't look a thing like what I thought Doom was. Like, I thought it was more like running it. Like, this looks like Silent Hill or Resident Evil or something like that. I'm like, this is, It kind of threw me off, but I was like, man, a horror game with demons? Nah, I ain't about that life. I ain't going to play that. Nah.
Right. I'm not brave enough for that.
Nope.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm not big on horror games. Like I get scared easily. I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary games. So I think Doom 3 would just scare me, honestly.
Yep. I'll play it for you and let you know how it is.
There you go. You tell. Although, man, last year on stream I played PT. Oh my goodness,
dude.
that Silent Hill playable teaser. That's the scariest thing I've ever played in my life. That's probably the scariest experience of my life.
I could have told you don't do it. Like that game.
Dude, that was rough. Yeah. Another one that I have yet to play, but I really want to play is Doom 64. Dude, I love the Nintendo 64. Some of my favorite games ever are on that system. And they took basically the Doom engine, kind of upgraded the visuals in a way. And instead of going for a full 3D, they still did a sprite-based game, which nowadays in 2020 plays in their favor because we know how early polygonal games, look now. But that game still looks great. Yeah. But kind of the idea of Doom 64 is that it takes place after Doom 1 and 2. We're just going to pretend like Doom 3 doesn't exist because I don't know where it fits in the continuity. But,
they probably tried to retcon it, to be honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I've heard, that it's basically just a reboot or, trying to start over. So I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist for the sake of this conversation.
There we go.
But yeah, Doom 64 takes place after Doom 1 and 2. And what happened is, so at the end of Doom 1, you go to hell and you close the portal and you are going to go back to Earth and, everything's fine. But whenever you get back to Earth in Doom 2, the demons have come through and they've invaded Earth and taken over. And so you have to save the world, basically. Then at the end of Doom 2, I'm trying to remember, it seems like you go back to hell. You kind of do the same thing. You seal the portal again, and you've cleared the Earth. So everything looks good. But then in Doom 64, there was one demon that survived it's called like the Mother Demon or something. And this demon has the ability to resurrect other demons, kind of like the Archvile in Doom 2, except it goes around and it's resurrecting things and mutating things so that all of the normal standard monsters that you've seen, the pinkies, the imps, the everything, all look way creepier, way scarier, way more aggressive. And so everything's just like they were already demons, but now they're like a demonic version of the demons that you knew. So super creepy, and it's a dark game. The soundtrack is one of the craziest things about it. That like Doom 1 and 2 had that very, MIDI synth metal kind of, rockin', just awesome soundtracks. And then Doom 64 was composed by a guy named Aubrey Hodges, who also did the soundtrack for Doom on PlayStation 1, which did the same thing. It made it this very like atmospheric, dark, creepy, foreboding soundtrack. And so you have these like literally dark levels, like the brightness is dark, the monsters look creepy, and you have this creepy music. So it's a very different, more horror based, I guess, atmosphere in Doom 64. So that's one I really want to play. And good thing, if you pre-order Doom Eternal, you get Doom 64. So I'm set. I've got that coming. I'll play that on stream eventually too. But yeah, Doom 64, at the end of that game, apparently, from what I've heard, you go back into hell, of course, but this time you seal the portal from hell's side, and the Doom guy just says, I'm going to stay in hell, and I'm just going to spend the rest of my days here killing everything. So nothing can escape this time. Okay. No more portals will be created. I'm staying here, and I'm going to kill everything until I die. Which leads into Doom 2016. Now, there's a lot of different theories and ideas on whether Doom Guy and Doom Slayer are different people. I'm not going to pick a side on that debate because I don't know, but there is an interesting tidbit from both of those games that could link them together, where, like I said, at the end of Doom 64, you're in hell, just going to live out the rest of your days there. Then at the beginning of Doom 2016, you see you're like strapped to that table, and you kind of break out of the chains and before you get your suit, but you see that little holographic message of the demons who found a tomb in hell with someone inside of it. And it was Doom Guy. It was this guy that, as you play the game, you hear more of the lore about the Doom Slayer who would come. He always comes. He will come. And it was like Doom Slayer just became part of the mythos of hell, that he's here and he'll find you and he'll kill you because that's what he does. And so it's like eventually they couldn't kill him, so they sealed him up in this tomb or in this box. And but then somehow at the beginning of Doom 2016, you're set free from that box and you do what you do. You go back to hell and you kill stuff.
You rip and tear.
You rip and tear, right? And so Doom 2016, it was an awesome game, a great experience from a gameplay standpoint, but also really fun to kind of see how, it's just more of the same. You're Doom Guy again, whether it's the same one or a different one, and you're going around and you're killing everything, and you have so many amazing weapons in that game. And dude, it was such a fun experience. I really enjoyed Doom 2016, and it ended really on kind of a cliff, or you don't know what's going to happen, because you see that Dr. Samuel Hayden guy, he takes the crucible, that big red sword, and he just kind of wanders off, and you're kicked somewhere, who knows? And then boom, the title screen goes, and that's the end of the game. And so we'll pick it up in Doom Eternal and see where we are, what happens. And I think based on the trailers and even the title, Doom Eternal, Hell on Earth kind of thing, that, man, it looks like it could kind of be the same idea as Doom 1 and Doom 2. And now Hell has invaded Earth, and you have to go back and save the world. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. And I know I just talked a lot, so
it's good though, because now, like, the cool thing is like a lot of people that are listening to this episode that have probably been like me, like last year, have never played a Doom game. Now you're caught up. So if you want to go jump into Doom Eternal, you can. And then you can rip and tear and have fun with the chainsaws. But the thing is, what was I going to say? I was going to say something, and then I totally just lost it. Oh, yeah. The ending to Doom 2016 made me mad, because I'm like, that's the end of the game? Like, why? But I will say this. I'm glad I waited so long to play that game, because I'm like, I only have like a few months until Doom Eternal comes out, so I'm good. Like, I can wait it out. But at the same time, like, this thing with Doom, I mean, it's dealing with you going into hell, you're killing demons, you're doing a lot of things like that. And I think Doom Eternal is going to introduce heaven and angels. Is that right? Did I read that somewhere?
Yeah, so that's what I've read too, and that's actually been my only concern about it, is what they're going to do with those kind of themes. And I've been very upfront about it on stream. I've said, Doom 2016 and all the old Dooms I've played through, I've loved, I've enjoyed. We've talked a lot about kind of the themes and all that, but I said Doom Eternal is supposed to introduce elements of heaven and angels and that kind of stuff, and it's going to depend on what they do with that as to whether I continue in that game or not. Because if that starts pushing some buttons that just don't line up with me as a Christian, I'm done, even if I love the game, So
Right.
I'm anxious to see what they do. I hope, and I would assume they understand what they have, what they're doing. They're up to this point, they've never tried to produce a blasphemous product or anything like that. So I would not think that they would go that route, but it has yet to be seen. We'll see what they do. So that's a very interesting piece of that, which could be very actually interesting and fun if it's, done in the lore of the Doom world. And it's clearly fantasy sort of thing and not trying to say something that it shouldn't be saying. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting how we're kind of going into this, because this reminds me of a question that 2-Bit Lane brought up in our Discord when we were kind of fielding responses for this episode. And one of the questions that he asked was, he wanted to hear a breakdown for the epistemology of Doom, specifically the conflation of fantasy elements and biblical elements. In this case, it'd be demonic, how people need to learn to distinguish between facts, justified beliefs, and their own opinions. And he's like, yes, I know. I just reiterated what epistemology means. But so when it comes to playing Doom, because I know a lot of people are going to be real confused as to why we're covering this game on the show, even still, even after hearing this part. But it's how do we? Because if you play Doom, you obviously know okay, none of this is actually based on the Bible. This is very someone's opinion or what they think hell probably is. It's not anywhere near as goofy or bonkers or off the wall it is. For crying out loud, you fist bump little miniature figurines of your character in 2016 Doom. So it's definitely not a game to be taken seriously. But at the same time, let's get into that topic a little bit, man. I'm going to let you speak into that a little bit, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on that. But where do you land on this kind of topic?
Okay. Yeah. So the epistemology of Doom is something that we talk about a lot on stream, honestly, because a lot of times people will come in who, are believers or just, have a kind of a Christian, Western, whatever mindset. And they'll say, hey, what is going on here? A pastor is playing Doom. What should we be playing these kind of games? And we'll get into this kind of conversation about, fantasy versus reality. And so it's basic, or obviously Doom is based on, in a way, it's based on biblical concepts because it talks about things like hell, it talks about things like demons, but it's such a far out there representation. It's not the creators of Doom are saying, well, based on our understanding of Scripture, we think that this is an accurate portrayal of what eternal punishment is, and we think you'll have the opportunity to pick up chain guns and chainsaws and fight your way through hell. It's nothing that's not what they're doing. It's
Right.
just a set piece for a game. It's just a set piece for the gameplay. That's what Doom is. It's gameplay first. Story is so far down the list it hardly even exists. It's basically just you take the idea of what if you had to fight through the forces of hell? What would that look like? Well, probably something like this. You'd probably need some rocket launchers and a shotgun and whatever. So it's just a fun, like you said earlier, kind of a power fantasy where, man, you got guns, you got things to kill. So that's kind of the way I've always thought about it. As far as the subject matter itself, it's not something to be taken super serious. Now, when we got a little more into the conversation specifically with 2016 Doom, and the reason it started is the first level where you go to hell. I don't remember. It's like the 6th or 8th or something level. I think it's the 6th level where you're teleported to hell. You come back, but you're there for a level. And whenever you first go, you see kind of this huge like castle looking thing in front of you with like enormous skulls and fire, and just looks like this barren wasteland. And so as soon as we got there on stream, I started talking about, I was like, man, look at this. This is a really cool looking set piece. And I said, I guess this is, if the people who are designing a game that takes place in hell, this is their understanding of what they would think hell looks like in a way.
Right.
So which got us to talking about, well, what does the Bible say? And so it's one of those things that it's very clearly not trying to emulate reality. It's just a set piece for a game. But because of the world that we live in, the way that a lot of us think and our worldviews, it leads us into these kind of discussions, which is totally understandable because of the way we're raised, the filters that we have. Me specifically, us being in America or Western culture, we have, and especially, down here in Texas, in the Bible Belt and all that kind of stuff, we have this kind of like Western morality culture, Christian culture, where everyone's a Christian, where we know that's not reality, but that's like the worldview that we are raised in with these Judeo-Christian values. So we associate, if I have these values, then I'm a Christian, therefore a Christian must live by these values. Therefore we cannot play a game like Doom sort of thing. And so we get into that whole conversation. So I would say, if we would truly go back to the Bible and we would let God's revealed word speak for itself and be our true authority, not the way we're raised, not the way, society says, or America, 50 years ago or whatever. If we would just let the Bible be our source, then we could see everything through that filter instead of the filter of XYZ. Then I think a lot of these questions would become clearer. But yeah, so that, I know I just said a lot, but that's kind of where I fall on that. That, it's a game. It's
right.
the short version of all that. It's a game. It's not supposed to be reality.
Yeah. And especially when you think about the fact, you kind of like when you were mentioning in Doom 2016, how you get teleported to hell and then you come back. It's like, wait a minute. We as Christians know that, like, you can't do that. There's a passage in Luke that even goes over that. But it's just kind of this idea of, well, let me ask this question. Because I think you nailed it on the head. It is a game. It's not meant to be taken seriously. You're running around hell with a chainsaw cutting up demons. Like, come on.
Right.
So in that aspect, it's like you can have fun with it because it's just fantasy. It's really no different than reading a book or anything like that. Or even watching a movie, though I don't recommend watching the Doom movies because they're kind of terrible.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I was thinking about as you were talking about this, does it say something? And I'm not bringing this question up to judge anybody. I'm bringing it up because it's a thought that just came up. Is us playing this game or games like this, like with Darksiders or Doom or whatever, does it say something about us in terms of how we view hell? Because in their depiction of hell, it's, fire, skulls, and all that stuff. It's a place that you can leave and come back out of. It's no different than like going to Hawaii or something. Like you're going to another realm or another place or whatever, but you can come back. Does that say something about us in terms of how, I can't think of what the word is. I don't know. Do you kind of track where I'm going? I'm trying to figure out what the right word to say to bring it all together, but
yeah.
Does that,
so like, About like us endorsing it, or
Yeah, like does it say that we have such a low view of hell that we're okay with kind of making almost a cartoon out of it kind of thing?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that like we would say this and kind of take lightly the subject of hell,
right?
Yeah, that's a totally valid thought. That honestly, I haven't even processed in ever playing Doom. I've never really thought that, but yeah, no, that's a good point. That, you know, whenever we read scripture and we understand the finality of hell, the purpose of hell, all those kind of things, it's out of all subjects the one that should be taken lightly the least. There's probably a better way to say that sentence, but I think I said it backwards.
Hey, words are hard, man. We got you.
Yeah, hey, words are hard. But yeah, it is a very, very serious and sobering subject. So whenever we play a game like this, are we mocking or belittling or taking light the subject of hell? It could be seen that way. That could be a motivation in someone playing it. For me personally, it's not. Like I said, I've never even thought that, but it even could, especially with like the method by which I'm playing it through a stream, trying to reach gamers, it could be an open door to speak to the severity of hell. And, you know, this looks fun. I mean, we're running around with a shotgun. This looks fun, but hey, this ain't real life, Junior. This isn't the way it's going to be. It's going to be XYZ, you know, and go and present that. So that's a great point. That it really could be an open door to speak to the severity of hell. And, you know, you're not going to be running around. You're not going to be able to just, you know, have a power fantasy and fight to survive. No, it's a place created for the devil and his angels. It's a place created to torment them. You're not going to just run around and, you know, find weapons and try to survive. It's punishment. Eternal punishment. Yeah. So,
and I think from that perspective, like with what you're doing on your stream, I think that's a pretty effective method of outreach. You know, it gets people in to like see their favorite game being played or something. Then you can pose that question and they're like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that. You know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those ways where at least that's what we try to do on the show here is take popular, things, popular icons, games, whatever it is, and ask questions and get people to think about it. It's really no different than what Paul did at the what is that place called? It's like the Areopagus or whatever. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but he goes in and he tells people, you know, you have a statue. I see you guys are very religious. You're very intellectual. I see you have a statue out there that says to the unknown God. Well, here is that God. I know who that is. So you're taking popular things in culture and then using that to witness. And I think with at least with Doom, you can do that pretty effectively. I was just bringing that question up because it was just something that came to my mind. I don't think if you're a Christian and you play this game that's necessarily what you think. Because I would think I have a pretty realistic view of what hell is, and when I play Doom, I'm like, it's not going to be like this, but.
Right.
But
not everyone watching is thinking that. So that's huge. And I think especially once Eternal comes out and I'll be playing that thing, it'll bring in a lot of people that I'll be able to pose that question. So this is awesome.
And I think one of the things with that too is, oh man, I keep losing my thoughts here. What I was going to bring up.
Welcome to my world.
I know gosh, not only our words hard, but thoughts are hard this episode. But yeah, I lost it. So I don't know where it is. So do you think, I guess we can kind of talk about this because there's really a whole realm of games that have taken biblical imagery and kind of made it their own. In your experience playing through Doom, and you see that they're taking biblical themes and changing it to be a more, I think comic book-ish would be the right verb or adjective for this feel to it. Do you think that shows a disrespect towards God, or does that show like a kind of interest in biblical things. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I think that's a great way to say it. Kind of a comic book-esque view of or interpretation of different things like hell, like demons. Yeah, I don't think that I would say any of it is mocking or trying to poke fun at biblical themes or God or anything like that. Now, we'll see with the themes of heaven and stuff in Doom Eternal what they do.
Right.
But since they haven't done it up to this point, I would be very surprised if they did. But I'll be keeping a close eye on that as we play, which could lead to even more conversations on stream if that comes up. But yeah, I think everything is kind of maybe even rooted in an interest, because I mean, if you talk to or just look at like what's popular in the world amongst unbelievers, anything spiritual, supernatural, angel-based, heaven-based, hell-based, demon-based, anything like that, which people don't have a full understanding of because they don't have understanding of the scripture or relationship with God, but they just see something that is out of the ordinary, that is beyond their realm of everyday life. There is an interest in those kind of things, in those themes. So I would say that what like provoked the original concept of Doom, I would say is rooted in that same kind of thing, where it's based on an interest in the supernatural, which could even relate to a what's the word, a like a affirmation maybe that things beyond our realm do exist, that there are such a thing as there is such a thing as God or heaven or angels or hell or demons or the devil or whatever, wherever their interest point is, but which then could be an open door to get someone to talk about it. I have a lot of conversations with like kids and youth and stuff at church, especially like when I'm driving the church bus and stuff. We'll have conversations about spiritual, mystical, supernatural things. They'll ask me about XYZ, whatever, and I can always point them to, well, what does the Bible say? Now I know that's what your grandma said, or what the weird neighbor down the road said about that haunted house down there or whatever, and all these different mythos. And I woke up at 3 a.m. What does that mean? Well, that means you probably need more sleep, dude. Stop eating pizza right before bed, so a lot of it, I think, is based on these kind of weird mythologies and ideas and superstitions and stuff. But the point is that we can point people back to the reality of the scripture, what it says, what it teaches, and all that, all those other things. They're fun, they're silly, they're fantasy, whatever. But this is truth, and here's how we know. And so it can open those kind of doors.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we want to get across, is that, especially just, I mean, not even with Doom, but just with any game, or no, like I messed it up. Words are hard. When it comes to being a Christian and engaging with video games, it is important for you to know what's actually in the Bible, because one of the things that has kind of frustrated me personally growing up is that, I've heard people, or I've heard Christians like try to say, oh, Pokemon is evil because you're summoning demons. It's like, okay, let's take a step back here and see what's actually going on here. Because when you dig into Pokemon, the reason why the game was made, the guy that made the game was he loved collecting bugs and he wanted to make a game based around that concept, and he did with Pokemon.
Right.
Now with Doom, it's like, it's a thing where, you are going into, I mean, let's be honest, a fictitious hell and killing demons or, monsters or whatever it may be. One of the things in Japanese culture, they refer to, the Japanese word for demon is oni, but they use that to cover a wide breadth of monsters. So it's not even just what we would view here in the States as demons. They're just creatures that are abnormal. But the thing to remember is, at least when we're playing a game like this, is that, if you first got to ask, like, is this actually like an accurate portrayal of the Bible? I think we can look at Doom and say no. Or at least not a biblical concept of hell. And so when we play it, we're like, okay, this is clearly fiction. It's not real. This is not anything like it. So at the same time, I think you're free to enjoy it. I know I'm going to get heat for that one, but I think you're free to enjoy it based off of that. But at the same time, you kind of have to keep in mind that, like, what the Bible actually says about these things. I don't think anyone is going to be in sin for playing Doom, and I don't think it says that you have a low view of hell or like you mock it or anything like that by playing it. Because let's be honest, there's a very appealing, there's an intrigue there in taking the fight to these evil forces that are honestly making our lives as Christians really difficult at a lot of times. You know, it's very appealing to want to take the fight to and be like, oh no, I've got the ability to take that pain that you've been giving me and bring it back on you tenfold. It's very intriguing concept. It's one of the reasons why I really like Demon Hunter's logo, is the idea of being able to kill a demon is like, that's awesome, because it means that that's one less thing trying to make a Christian's life difficult. It's very appealing. And if anything, it probably says more that you want that righteous judgment to come down and wipe all this stuff out so we can not have to deal with it anymore. But again, it all depends on how you go about it. And I'm not here to judge that, because I don't know. You know, there's a lot of people that play Doom. I don't know what you're thinking when you're playing it.
Right.
But I think it is good to consider maybe, you know, how that comes across. You know, what is your intent in playing it? But at the same time, like, I don't, because my big thing, especially with this game, and this is one of the things I was worried about bringing up with this game, like, I don't want to tread into the realm of Phariseeism, or Pharisee, however you say it, and tell people, oh, you can't play this game because it's got demons in it. It's like, well, you're going through there and you're killing the demons. For me, I'm like, yeah, that's a thing that I really like doing, because demons suck.
Right.
But I understand that people get the wrong idea of hell from playing this game, from seeing stuff in media where they think hell is something to be joked about. So I think this is where I'm going to land on it. You guys can disagree with me, but it depends on how you go about it. You know, I do think it's important for you to know what's actually in the Bible, and then kind of bring that to the game. And with that, but I think at the same time, if you play the game, you have a very good open door into sharing the gospel with someone, or talking, having conversations about that. And so does that make it worth playing Doom? I don't know. I guess that's up to you, but that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I don't believe the whole thing, like, if you play Doom, you're going to summon demons or something like that in real world. Like, that's cartoonish, you know?
Right.
But that's kind of where I'm at. PastorDoostyn, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or not, but that's kind of where I'm going to land.
No, I definitely agree. I think Romans chapter 14 is a good place to start with that kind of conversation. Read through that. It talks a lot about, you know, well, like Romans 14:1 kind of summarizes, it says, now accept the one who is weak in faith, but not for the purpose of passing judgment on his opinions, and goes through, you know, the different principles of conscience, and where, you know, there's certain things that may be permissible but not beneficial. That's a whole conversation. Right. But I would say Romans 14 is a great place to look with that. But yeah, I mean, I fall in the same boat. If playing Doom had the ability to summon demons, dude, my house would be chaos constantly. I mean, it would be like, dude, every Monday night, my whole life would fall apart. But it hasn't happened yet, so I don't quite think that's accurate. But yeah, I mean, and I get it. I understand. I would just, again, reiterate what you said, to, you know, look back to the scripture as our authority, not how we're raised, not, you know, a Western mindset or whatever, but what does the Bible say? Is this really something that is going to damage my walk with Christ or whatever? And like I've even said, especially I said whenever we were playing 2016 Doom, I said, you know, this is one of those things that you have to examine your own walk with Christ. If you're a brand new believer, you don't have any kind of roots or foundation or know the scripture or anything. You've just, you know, you just dove headlong into relationship with Christ, you're a baby Christian, maybe stay away from 2016 Doom for a little while. Spend that time in the Bible. Get some roots, some foundation, so that you won't be swayed by every wind of doctrine. So you won't look at 2016 Doom and think, oh, is this how it really is? But you'll be able to differentiate between reality and fantasy. And so there is a maturity piece to that. But those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. Right on. And I do want to kind of at least throw this out there, because I don't want people to sit here and listen to our discussion on this game and think, oh, well, I don't really want to play Doom. So if I don't want to play Doom, then that must mean like I'm a weak Christian. Like, that's not what we're saying.
No.
It goes back to what I always say on the show when we talk about games like this or M-rated games. If you try to play a game and you feel like you're just kind of repulsed by it, like you're kind of being pushed back from it, like you don't want to play it, don't play it. Just because we're sitting here talking about it does not mean you have to go play it. We're just trying to have a conversation about the game and try to ask some good questions about it. So, if you don't feel like playing it, that's fine. You don't have to play it. There's other games that you can play. I mean, Animal Crossing comes out the same day as Doom Eternal, so you can definitely play that. And I mean, I don't know how I'm going to play both on that day, to be honest with you. Adam Wade's the same way. He said his biggest concern is around being so many good games dropping at the same time. His gaming ADHD isn't cut out for that. So I feel you, man. Totally. But yeah. So, dear listeners, you'll have to let us know what you think of Doom, the whole series, Doom 2016, all that stuff. Maybe you agree or disagree, or you want to have a conversation about something we said on the show. You can do that in the Discord server. The link is in your show notes, so you can do that there. You know what's funny? I didn't expect there to be this much discussion around this series, because I'm like, it's literally you just running and gunning and stuff. Like, how much discussion can there be? But here we are at like an hour and 40 minutes almost. I'm like, man, there's a lot of good discussion. Can be a lot of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are running out of time. Sorry, we can't get into all the feedback stuff that we got. I will bring this one up though, because Doug's Vest wants to know from you, PastorDoostyn, what is your go-to weapon loadout in Doom 2016?
Yeah. So I have two. It basically depends on what section of the game and kind of the intensity level. If it's a more laid back, kind of calm, I'm just exploring section, I stick with the shotgun with the I forget what it's called, but like the little grenade that you can shoot. I cycle between the shotgun with that expansion and the assault rifle with the micro missiles. And if it's a more intense time where I'm really struggling to get through, there's, all sorts of crazy stuff going on, then I cycle, my loadout is the plasma rifle with the stun bomb and the rocket launcher with the homing mechanism. So those are my two loadouts. In third would be the Gauss cannon, basically like your one-shot sniper kind of thing, but I'm not very good with it, so I stay away from it. But typically, even as good as the super shotgun is, I love that little grenade explosion that you can add on to the normal shotgun. So I usually, most of the time, I'd say probably 70% of the time, I have the shotgun and the assault rifle with micro missiles going back and forth.
Right on, man. Sounds good. Well, dear listeners, like I said, any questions or comments, concerns, cries of outrage, anything like that you want to give us, drop it in the Discord server or on any of the social media platforms that we're on, except for TikTok, because I haven't uploaded anything and probably never will on there. But yeah, you can follow us on there if you want. But let's go ahead and wrap up the show here before we let you go. This is our second episode of the month, so it is our patron thank you episode. So we are going to thank our patrons that have been supporting us over on patreon.com. I will read those here on the show real quick. Thank you guys and gals. Shout outs go to Alex Castellanos and Andre Swan, Andrew Steedman, Ashley Cronenbitter, Caleb Schmidt, Christopher Commander, Colin Gregory, Connor Felty, David Matthews, Derek Smith, Jake Walker, James Barker, Jesse Pennu, Joanne Monroe, Josh Broccolo, Lava Burner, Luke Strain, Mark Fromey, Matthew White Chocolate McDougal, gosh, that name, Melvin Benson, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, Nate McKeever, Retro Rewind Podcast. Yes, I said it correctly. There you go. You guys are new, actually. Thank you for supporting us. Ryan1701E, Sam White, you are also new. Thank you for the support. Samuel Kalunga and Wesley Ray, thank you all so much for supporting us over on Patreon.com. Man, that was like a gauntlet trying to go through and name everything. You guys got some. I knew once I saw Retro Rewind, I'm like, this is going to trip me up, but it didn't. So there you go, Francisco. But yeah, PastorDoostyn, man, thank you for coming on and helping us discuss this game that I have only played 2 games in the series of. So I'm glad you were able to come on and discuss these games and give a good overview of all the games as well. So if people don't really want to play those games in the leading up to Eternal, they're now all caught up. But man, before we let you go, some recos, man, what should our dear listeners check out after listening to this episode?
Yeah, so just a few things. The book that I mentioned earlier, 41 Will Come by Chuck E. Tate, incredibly encouraging if you're going through a season, a drought, that sort of thing. Definitely check out that book. You can get the ebook for pretty cheap. Great read. Then Doom related, I'll give you some Doom related recos today. The Switch ports of Doom 1 and 2 are on sale right now for $1.49. There is no reason not to pick those things up to have Doom on the go, and they've greatly enhanced them here in the past couple months. I think there were a lot of issues upon first release. They've fixed the frame rate, they've fixed the music, they've fixed everything. It really runs the way it should now. So awesome ports you can get both of them for $3 to play the granddaddies of all first person shooters on the go. So definitely recommend those. Then a few WADs that I've played through that I would highly recommend. They're some of the best out there. Alien Vendetta is an incredible one. It's always voted as one of the top ones, and I definitely give it my recommendation. Check out Alien Vendetta. It's a full 32 map WAD. The original Scythe 1. I haven't played Scythe 2 yet, but Scythe 1, awesome. It's so much fun. So many great levels, unique levels. And then if you're just wanting a one level, just marathon of an insane thing, there's one called No Chance. Dude, it's a lot of fun. I've only beaten it on the easiest level so far. So I got to try on the second level yet. I haven't gotten to Hurt Me Plenty or Ultra Violence yet, but yeah, Alien Vendetta, Scythe, and No Chance are 3 great WADs to check out.
Right on. It's funny that you mentioned the Doom games being on sale, because that's actually how I picked up Doom 3. I was like, man, this is like $2.50. Okay, yeah, I'll pick that up. That's like a steal. Yeah. But yeah, I was going to pick up Doom 2016 for Switch, but then you and a couple other people were like, it's okay on Switch, but I'd rather play it somewhere else. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just download it back to my PS4 and play it there.
Right.
But yeah, so there you go, dear listeners. As far as my recos go, Dragon Quest 11. It's so good. Golly, it's so good. Again, if you don't want to get past the 10-hour tutorial, I get that. You probably don't have time to do that. Or I should say, if you don't have time to do that, disregard the reco. But if you're into JRPGs and you want to play it, jump into it. Some other recos are listen to Demon Hunter. Just mentioning it throughout this episode, I'm like, man, I need to go like rock out to some Demon Hunter, because they put out 2 albums last year and I haven't listened to them enough. Great stuff. Actually, my personal favorite album that they did was the Triptych, which was my first Demon Hunter album. But yeah, go check them out. Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And then my last reco is something that surprised me the other day. I every now and then I'll go to the local gas station and grab a soda, but I was going and grabbing a soda earlier this week, opened their Dr. Pepper section, and saw that Dr. Pepper came out with a Dr. Pepper with cream soda flavor. And I gotta say, it's pretty darn good. It is pretty darn good. So if you love cream soda and you love Dr. Pepper, have the best of both worlds. Treat yourself this week and go grab one, because it is delicioso, as the kids say. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going off the rails. PastorDoostyn, man, if people want to follow you, check out your streaming stuff, drop all those links. We're going to roll out the red carpet for you, man. Let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, anywhere on the internet where you're active and you want to interact with me, I'm PastorDoostyn everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all of the above. It's PastorDoostyn, spelled the same way. But yeah, I stream every Friday through Monday. on twitch.tv/PastorDoostyn. Specifically, Monday night is my Doom night. So I'd love to see you there. Come hang out with us. We always have a great time. We've been able to minister to a lot of people and just have fun doing it. So love to see you there.
Right on. And dear listeners, links to all of his socials and Twitch channel will be in your show notes, so you can go check it out right now or after this episode ends, or whenever you want, really. I mean, it's going to be in there the whole time you're listening to this episode. You probably already went and followed him on Twitch. But yeah, dear listeners, if you like what we do here on the show, you can go over to patreon.com to consider lending support to the show. $1 a month gets you uncut early access. Yeah, you know the spiel already. We already went over it. But you can also follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/TheReformedGamers, twitch.tv/TheReformedGamers. I think you can just do the Reformed Gamers everywhere except for Twitter, because Twitter won't let us have the Reformed Gamers for some reason. So it's just TRG Podcast on Twitter. But go hook us up. Go hook us up. Go follow us on there. I guess go hook us up with your follow. Words are hard. Leave me alone, kids. But also go to the website, thereformedgamers.com, for articles, retrospectives, which is a new series we put out. We put out a new article every Thursday, just looking at a retro game, retro series, retro console, anything retro. We talk about it on there. So go check that out on the website. As always, dear listeners, thank you for listening in. Thank you for listening to this episode, Pastor Doostyn. We appreciate you, my dude. But dear listeners, this is our new slogan from now on. If I can remember it. Be a deer and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/TheReformedGamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are David Matthews, The Lava Burner, Luke Strain, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a deer and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.